Hello, welcome back to another issue of Sector 2815. I was tagged by my good friend Mark from Legion of Comics to do the top 10 first appearances in my comic collection. So I'll get to those right after this. Welcome back to another edition of Sector 2815. As always, I am Paul Cook. And before we get started, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so that you're alerted whenever I upload new content. And I appreciate you joining me for this special issue of Sector 2815. Something going around the comic community right now. We're doing something where creators are being tagged by other creators to show off the top 10 first appearances in their comic collection. And I was tagged by my good friend Mark over at Legion of Comics. So I'm going to go ahead and show you my top 10 or 10 first appearances in my comic collection, and then I'll tag three other creators at the end. So stay tuned for that. But we're going to start off with this is Infinite Crisis number 3. This is the first appearance of Jaime Reyes, not as Blue Beetle. That doesn't occur until issue number 5, but this is the first appearance of the character Jaime Reyes. This is the second printing, which is actually my favorite copy of all of the issues. This is a sketch cover by Jim Lee, of course, and this has significance because there is on HBO Max coming. There is a Blue Beetle movie that is coming out in the not too distant future that will star Jaime Reyes. So there's a lot of spec around this particular issue, and then issue number 5 of Infinite Crisis as well. So this is the first. This is number 10 in my top 10 first appearances. Mark, in his video, if you saw his, if you haven't, make sure you go check it out. One of his was Omega Man number 3, which was the first appearance of Lobo. I'm going to go a little bit before that. This is Green Lantern number 141. This is the first appearance of the Omega Man. Um, this is the Omega Man. In some ways, people are kind of hoping that the Omega Man, if it does actually make it to a live action, might be the Guardians of the Galaxy for the DC universe. Another reason why I love this, besides the fact that it's Green Lantern, obviously, it's a George Perez cover as well. So this is the first appearance of the Omega Man in DC Comics. This is Green Lantern number 142. Sorry, 141. Just recently, we actually lost a comic creator who was, if there's a Mount Rushmore of comics, he definitely would be one of the 4 that was on there. Neil Adams passed away recently, and so what I wanted to do is I wanted to do a couple of Neil Adams first appearances. Um, this is Detective Comics number 411. This is the first appearance of Talia al Ghul. It is a Neil Adams cover. It's not Neil Adams didn't do the interiors, but it's a Neil Adams cover, and this was the first appearance of Talia al Ghul in Detective Comics number 411. And then soon after that, this came out actually in May of 1971. The next month, in June of 1971, it was Batman number 232 with a Neil Adams cover as well as Neil Adams interior. This was the first appearance of Ra's al Ghul. Um, Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams created him originally to be he was kind of an eco terrorist that kind of thought that he could save the world if we just didn't have so many humans on it. Um, and obviously, he has become one of Batman's most enduring and most obstinate villains. He always seems to have his hand into just about everything right now. If you're reading current DC Comics, you know that there's actually a lot going on with the Al Ghuls, both Ra's and Talia, in the comics right now, through with the Shadow War and everything that's going on in Robin, the series Robin too. So, but this was one of Neil Adams' iconic covers that he did. This is Batman number 232. We're already up to number 5. Sorry, this is number six, the fifth I'm showing you. This is Action Comics number 276. And the first appearances that are in here, I'm actually going to have to read it because there's so many in here. This is the first appearance of Brainiac 5, of Sunboy, of Phantom Girl, of Triplicate Girl, of Shrinking Violet, and of Bouncing Boy. This is shortly after the Legion of Superheroes was created. They added a lot to the mythos in this particular issue. Um, and the Legion of Heroes has gone on to become one of the greatest creations in all of DC Comics. Um, Again, it started with Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl and Cosmic Boy um, in Adventure Comics, but then he continued into Action Comics as well. They had some tales in there as well, and this had the first appearance of six. Legionnaires, some of the more prominent Legionnaires, with Sunboy and, like I say, Brainiac 5. Um, this is Action Comics number 276. Um, as I mentioned before, one of my favorite um, creators. I've said this tons of times. If you ever watch my channel, you should know by now. One of my favorite creators is George Perez. This is New Teen Titans number 2. This is the first appearance of Deathstroke. It is a George Perez cover, Marv Wolfman story, George Perez art and interiors. It has the new George Perez label on it as well. Um, what uh, George Perez and Marv Wolfman did with the New Teen Titans was they really revitalized actually all of DC Comics, and they basically um, kind of made it a contender for the number one comic. The X Men were dominating everything currently on the stands, and when George Perez and Marv Wolfman took this over and created the New Teen Titans, they really had a hit on their hands. A funny story about the New Teen Titans is George Perez was actually drawing the Avengers for Marvel, and he was coming to DC Comics, and he really wanted to draw the Justice League because he figured that would be the next natural thing that he would do after having drawn the Avengers. And DC Comics currently had someone drawing the Justice League of America, longtime artist Dick Dillon. And so what they said to George was, okay, how about if you take this comic on first, and then we'll let you draw an issue or two of Justice League. And it was the New Teen Titans that they got him to draw. And George said yes because they didn't really think that it would last, or well, George didn't really think that it would last more than 6 issues. Of course, it set on fire as soon as it came out. And then soon after he started on this, actually, Dick Dillon, the artist, passed away, and he got to draw Justice League of America. So he was actually drawing for a very short time the Avengers, Justice League of America, and the New Teen Titans all at the same time. But then he found out that he was just having so much fun with the New Teen Titans that he just dropped Justice League and we just went on to New Teen Titans, again, to where he had probably most of his career success. He then went on to Wonder Woman, of course, but this was really probably what he's most known for is the New Teen Titans. Again, this is New Teen Titans number 2, the first appearance of Deathstroke. Now I'm going to move to a first appearance. It isn't a first appearance of a character. It is a first appearance of an idea. This is The Flash, number 123. This is the first appearance of multiple Earths, or maybe the multiverse, you might call it, or the omniverse, or whatever you want to call it. Um, this was really DC had retired all of their Golden Age characters, and they were slowly in the process of reinventing them and bringing new characters using the old names. And so, what Gardner Fox did was in this issue of The Flash, he explained how there could be an old Flash in Jay Garrick and a newer Flash in Barry Allen. And so, if you like the idea, whether you like or you don't like the idea of a multiverse or multiple Earths or an omniverse or whatever you want to call it, whether you like or you don't like the recent Spider-Man movie, or whether you're excited or not excited about the new Doctor Strange movie, you really kind of have this issue to thank, because this was the issue that brought about the whole idea of having multiple Earths and a multiverse or an omniverse, again, whatever you want to call it. So this was the first appearance of that. It opened the floodgates, It basically allowed creators to create any character they wanted, even if they've already been created. They could just put them on another Earth. Maybe tweak their origin a little bit. That's kind of how Elseworlds came about as well. It was kind of taking these characters who were familiar in name, but maybe they tweaked something about them and they put them on a different Earth. And the Elseworlds actually was rolled into the multiverse as well. So this is where it all started. This is Flash number 132, The Flash of Two Worlds, by Gardner Fox and Carmine Infantino. Just probably the seminal issue of the Flash Golden Silver Age run. Next, we have Action Comics number 252. This is the first appearance of Supergirl, um, Superman's cousin, who was rocketed from Krypton before before Superman was, but she was in stasis, and so she was rocketed, kind of the age that she was, and then she ended up landing on Earth, later than Superman was. Um, but she was Superman's cousin. There was a prototype of Supergirl before this, but it really is this is considered, obviously, because this is Kara Zor-El. This is the first appearance of who is known throughout DC Comics as Supergirl. So this is her first appearance. This is Action Comics number 252. Okay, down to my last two. You knew, since I'm Sector 2815, that I had to have, this is Showcase number 22. This is the first appearance of Green Lantern. Um, Green Lantern as Hal Jordan. As I mentioned a little while ago, DC had retired all of the Golden Age heroes. The Green Lantern of the Golden Age was Alan Scott. He then, in 1959, I believe it was, yes, sorry, 1959, Julius Schwartz was the editor. He was the one who was responsible for bringing the flashback, and then he then came back and he created a new Green Lantern. This is Hal Jordan, the first appearance of the Guardians of the Universe. Sorry, this is not the first appearance of Guardians of the Universe that happened. That occurred actually in Green Lantern number one. This is the first appearance of Hal Jordan as the new Green Lantern, taking over for Alan Scott. Whereas Alan Scott's ring could not affect wood, Hal Jordan's ring could not affect yellow at the time. He was supposedly a man without fear. The ring chose him to be Green Lantern because he was a man without fear. And it just kind of opened the floodgates after Flash and after Green Lantern. It opened the floodgates of DC kind of updating their Golden Age heroes, and kind of seeing who else that they could do. And so this is Showcase number 22, the first appearance of Green Lantern, Hal Jordan. And as I just mentioned, it kind of opened the floodgates of DC after Flash and Green Lantern to really kind of update a lot of DC Golden Age properties. And so what they did then was, once they had introduced enough of them, they then brought them all together in the Brave and the Bold number 28, the Justice League of America, the first appearance of the Justice League of America, fighting Starro on the cover. It was Green Lantern and Flash and Wonder Woman and Aquaman and Jean John's The Martian Manhunter. Funny story about this particular issue is, after they did this, they had a hit on their hands, and their competition over at Marvel. Martin Goodman was the publisher, and he was golfing one day with the publisher of DC. And DC told Martin that he had a hit on his hands with this new group book that they were doing. And so Martin Goodman went back to Stan Lee after golfing and said, "Hey, the DC Comics, they have a hit on their hand with a group book. Why don't you give me a group book?" And so they thought about it for a little while, and then Stan Lee created the Fantastic Four, which really kind of ushered in the Marvel Age. It was the first Marvel Age comic, the Fantastic Four number one. And so in some ways, this book is responsible for the creation of the modern Marvel Age. But this is just in the history of DC Comics, this issue is a seminal book. that I'm just thrilled that I actually have a copy. Within the next 2 weeks, it'll be on its way to CGC to get graded, and so hopefully I'll get it back not too soon after I send it off. So those are my 10 first appearances in my collection. Now it's time for me to nominate three more creators to do their uh, videos on the top 10, their top 10 in their collection. So I'm going to do Burke Family 54 Comics. So Steve, I'm going to do Mark Spector Comics. So David, um, I'm going to ask you to do one, and let's do Brother John Comics, John Norris. Um, the three of you, I know you'll have just incredible comics to share in from your collection. So I pass it on to you now. I give you the baton, and um, show us what you got. So that's going to do it for this issue of Such a 2815. As always, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're notified whenever I do and upload new content. Make sure you catch my show that I do with lots of comic creators. Guess That Key. It appears just about every other Wednesday at 9:30 Eastern. Um, but again, the notification bell can tell you when we're on. Don't forget to check out previous episodes. And then also, Mark, as I mentioned, from Legion of Comics, and I are doing um, a deep dive on DC's Dark Crisis event that's coming up this summer. We just kicked it off looking at Justice League number 75, The Death of the Justice League, which is kind of the prologue to Dark Crisis. You can find those videos again in my video list. And the next one we'll be doing will be following Free Comic Book Day, the Dark Crisis special Free Comic Book Day. So again, that's going to do it. Thank you very much for watching. And as of right now, you are leaving Sector 2815.